Welcome to Butcher Block Horror Podcast, where we exhume horror movies from the past and cut into what makes them so delectable. I'm Kane.
I am JD.
And I'm tired.
Also, you're Joe.
Also that, yeah.
Yeah.
Today...
Hey, welcome to Season 4.
Oh, yeah.
Shut the front door.
It's the first episode of our fourth season, Kane.
It's not like we do 13 episodes and we don't take breaks, all right?
We could take breaks if you wanted. Could do like a mid-season.
Why would we do that, Joe?
I don't know, mental health?
Wait, isn't that an Ari Aster movie mid-season?
No.
Damn it, JD.
Today, we're going to be throwing basket case onto the slab and carving up our favorite portions to force feed to you, our unwitting victims. And in case you were wondering, fucking spoilers.
Yeah, we're going to spoil.
If you enjoy the taste of these feasts of fright, give us a like and subscribe.
No, JD, that's a lick. That's different from a like.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
No, that's the way I taste things. Don't judge me. Only Belial could judge me.
Okay, well, you know what? Don't go to our website. We give you brainworms.com.
I mean, you could if you wanted to.
You don't want to go there and look at our Patreon.
Hey, this is bad advice, folks.
You don't want to click on the link that will lead you to our Funky Fresh Discord.
It's funky fresh.
And it's dressed to impress, ready
You
to
know, and
party.
honestly, the conversations that are taking place in that Discord, you don't want any part of that.
It is a good and wholesome place.
I will tell you this much. I don't go there.
That's because you don't know how to operate Discord, JD.
Yeah, you would have to first know how to use the Discord.
Fair enough. But I'm just a simple caveman.
I mean, no, you just refuse to learn the simple things of the internet.
Right. They feel like a detriment.
You were like, I learned how to press record.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as far as I go.
How to Instagram. That's it.
Jolly red candy-like button that I hit.
Yeah, and I still imagine that you're recording on like a boombox from the 90s.
Yeah? You think
Push
so?
and play and record at the same time.
You know what? Let's, JD, why don't you introduce us to Basket Case?
Basket case, yes, of course.
But only if you want to.
No, you have to.
Don't listen to him, JD. Do what you want.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
You were contractually obligated.
I wasn't trying
I don't
to
remember
step away
signing
from
any
it.
contracts.
Of course you don't. You did, but you don't remember.
Remember that time that we were all standing side by side urinating in the snow and we signed our names? That counted.
Huh.
Basket Case was released April 7th of 1982 on 16mm film. That's a trick.
Was it released on 16mm film, or did they do the weird thing where they stretch it to convert it?
I'm guessing there was some stretching and some converting, but we'll get into that later, won't we? Thanks, Kane.
Go fuck yourself.
In the butt.
Why there?
Yeah, I don't care where. You fuck yourself wherever you want.
Go fuck yourself, period. Basket Case had a runtime of 91 minutes with a budget of $35,000.
Is that officially the smallest budget of any movie we've watched?
I don't believe so. I believe there were a few films with smaller budgets.
Was it Herb Harvey's movie, Carnival of Souls, cheaper?
I think, though, if you take, inflation and the year that a film was made into account, that is changing some things severely.
Convert from euros.
Right. There's that, too.
I'm kidding. I actually don't. I don't really care.
Yeah, you don't have to care. So, the director.
The director.
That would be Frank Henenlotter.
Hennen who?
Henenlotter.
Okay.
Henenlotter. Frank Henenlotter. He wrote this film while walking around through Times Square. He's a big fan of Manhattan.
I mean, that makes sense. Every time I see a movie that takes place in New York, it makes me wish that I was in New York.
Yeah.
New York movies, especially New York movies shot in like the 70s and early 80s, have a very specific energy to them.
I don't know. Every time I see a movie that's in New York, it makes me want to be in New York.
Sure.
It makes me want to wear a vest made of denim with a patch on the back.
I could see you pulling off a denim vest.
Yeah. I would feel like a total penis, though, if I wore one.
Would you?
Yeah. I think that's kind of like a penis-y outfit.
So like spongy and sometimes erect? What exactly is if you feel like a penis?
Just like a hipster douche.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't really see denim vests as being hipster. Punk and metal dudes wear denim vests.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I see when I see it. Anyway, Henenlotter was born August 29th of 1950. Dude's a huge fan of exploitation and sexploitation films.
Makes sense.
Not a great look.
Not a great look, and it's
No.
quite evident in his work, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
If you decide to watch Basket Case,
Which you should. You should watch it.
you should watch
should.
Basket Case just for the fact that it's a
cult classic.
it's a cult classic, and it's interesting in terms of its special effects. Not groundbreaking, but I would say interesting.
Sure.
Especially with a $35,000 budget.
Yes.
All of which was spent on that puppet.
And the stop motion.
And some of it may have even been pocketed by
Yeah.
someone.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like they didn't even use all of the budget, so would just use it to go buy fucking bagels and pizza.
Street drugs.
That's just what I assume that people in New York are spending their money on is just bagels and pizza.
bagels and pizza. Sure.
You know, I once was informed by a New Yorker that the bagels are as delicious as they are because of the water.
Huh. Interesting if true.
Is
Yeah.
that like how the Illuminati's, the pizza joint in Chicago?
Oh, the Illuminati?
No, Illuminati's, the pizza joint in Chicago. When they opened a pizza place outside of Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
they spent over $5,000 to make sure that the exact same chemical makeup was found in the water when they made their dough, so that it tasted exactly the same.
Interesting.
Huh.
Interesting.
So you're not talking about the shadowy forces that control the world.
The fact that you know its name means that that version doesn't exist.
Have I ever shared a story with you, gentlemen, about the time I had the worst pizza I've ever tasted in my entire life? And that happened in Sandusky, Ohio, at a place called Chicago Pizza.
That makes sense that the worst pizza in the world would be at Sandusky, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling it, you know. I'm away from home a good 5 hours or so, and we go into this little place, and I swear it was like, it tasted like an uncooked, like a pizza setup, like some processed flour thing with,
Isn't all flour processed?
well, yes, but Kraft singles and ketchup seemed to be the toppings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like pretty disappointing.
Having had pizza in Chicago and then having had pizza in other places,
Sure.
that tends to happen.
Wisconsin does it right.
But no, I mean, if I eat other pizza, it has to stand next to the good pizza that I had in Chicago. And
Sure,
so
sure.
Sure.
A lot of it's like, oh, it's just American cheese and ketchup on
Milwaukee knows what they're doing with
toasted
pizza.
breads. That's it.
Yeah. So back to Basket Case. I just want to go ahead and throw a disclaimer forward. As I had mentioned before, if you watch Basket Case, you should know a few things. Be warned, there's some abusive and sexually abusive content here, so just sort of...
Yeah, it gets a little gross.
All I would say is that at the very end, like there's like a weird sexploitation scene between the puppet and the love interest, Sharon, and it was really inappropriate
Yeah.
and kind of gross.
disturbing, deeply disturbing, and it's consistent with a lot of Henenlotter's love of exploitation and sexploitation films.
Right.
So naturally, it translates in this movie.
Which again is a bad look.
Yep.
You know, we celebrate horror movies. That's our
Oh, yeah.
thing on this podcast. But specifically calling out, like, I'm a fan of the worst aspect of horror movies.
Sure.
That's what I'm into.
Yeah, I tend to, even in conversation, when people are like, "Oh, blah blah blah, you like horror, huh? What kind? What's your favorite horror?" And I was like, "I like almost all of it, but I hate exploitation."
Yeah. It's a bad look.
Yeah.
So back to Henenlotter. His career in film began in 1972 with Slash of the Knife. Then there was Basket Case in 1982.
It took 8 years for them to make a Basket Case 2.
Probably because they had to raise more money.
Yeah, it definitely went like that. I'm quite certain after his first few films, it wasn't like there was this phenomenal budget available to him. Just,
Right.
no one was going to go, here's a bunch of money, let's make another film.
Yeah.
After seeing Basket Case, they probably
That's
were more
my
like,
point,
"No,
yeah.
you can't."
like-
no,
Yeah, MGM isn't going to see Basket Case and just start writing checks.
Yeah, here's $10.
You've got a promising career ahead of you.
okay.
Frankenhooker, also in 90. That's got some sexploitation vibes in the title.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Probably real skeevy.
Yeah, probably awful stuff happened in that one. Anyway, Basket Case 3 in 1991. I'm quite a fan of that film. And then finally, Bad Biology in 2008. So there was quite a hiatus there,
Yeah.
taken by Henenlotter.
Probably because no one would give him money to make films.
Speaking of
Right.
people coming up with a budget for the film, I'm going to go ahead and mention the names of 3 producers. Arnold H. Bruck. He really knew how to save a few bucks making a horror film.
God damn it.
Oh, come on.
That's enough for the both of you.
I'm out.
Hey, you! You guys love me.
Fucking swear.
He knew how to save a few bucks.
Ah,
I did not agree to this.
But I'm coming at you with that kind of energy, so just...
what the fuck is a bruck, JD?
Oh, come on now. Don't make me explain it to
I
you.
should have renegotiated my contract after season 3.
You have to wait till the next snowfall, apparently.
You guys have to tolerate me until civilization devours itself.
Oh,
Well,
man.
luckily, that's going to happen soon.
I heard 2030. We're on target for 2030.
I mean, that tracks.
Anyway, Edgar Levins and Tom Kay are the other 2 producers we're gonna go ahead and mention.
But no clever puns for their names?
Not so much. Do you have one?
No, I'm disappointed in you. If you're going to throw one at fucking Brooks, you should have one for K as well.
I guess I should, but
Well, it's too late now. Move on.
it's too late.
Tom capable of producing a horror film.
And you would have thought that Edgar would have just Levins this alone, but he
Oh my
decided to
God,
be a
enough.
part of it.
Okay, I take it back. I take it back. All right, I was doing a bit, and I'm sorry. All right, stop it.
Yeah. You get what you deserve sometimes, that's all.
I thought it was you get what you need.
You can't always get what you want.
But sometimes you get what you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll mention that the production of Basket Case was shot on 16mm film. A lot of the film was shot in Manhattan on 42nd Street. 42nd Street. Right? That was weird.
I'm just letting it go, man. Just keep it up.
Fucking weird dork.
How many kinds of dorks are there? Are there?
Dorks are
wanna
infinite
know-
and varied.
All right, just fucking finish telling us about this.
That's as far as I went.
Let's shoot the shit.
Those are the producers, the director.
All right, well then, why don't you go ahead and give us a plot
Tell us a
overview?
tale,
I'm gonna.
Uncle Grandpa.
It's a hyper-sexualized, violent film with a gooey puppet. I could do better than that, but I just felt a deep need to preface everything I'm about to say with a little of that.
A little what?
Little bit of mambo in my life.
Oh shit, I haven't heard that song in a long time.
I had never actually heard that song, so.
You've never heard Mambo number 5?
No!
You somehow avoided hearing that song in the entire 90s?
Yep.
That's like a superpower.
Yeah.
I envy you, Kane.
The song was
I
everywhere.
heard the Macarena.
Mhm.
That was all over the place.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, Makakena.
Wow.
I heard Love Shack a lot.
Yeah, that was the 80s.
Yeah.
Was that?
I think.
Are you sure?
Season 4 coming out like gangbusters.
This is a horror podcast.
We're doing great, guys. We're doing great.
Yeah, so that was 1989, apparently.
Okay.
1989. All right, well.
So yeah, back to the plot of this film. A man pops up onto the scene in New York City. Hit it, gentlemen.
New York City!
New York City!
Excellent. And this gentleman has a peculiar wicker basket.
Is that how the movie started? The movie
don't-
I just watched showed Dr. Julius Lifflander getting murdered by a hand.
Right.
Oh, God, no!
I wasn't really paying attention just most of the time.
Stop drinking.
So anyway,
Don't tell me how to
this
live.
peculiar wicker basket only raises one question. What's in the basket?
What's in the basket?
I'm glad you asked.
So are we going to gloss over Bill Freeman as Dr. Julius Lifflander and his incredibly intense
Are
performance?
you going to backseat this entire...
I'm just saying. So I've got everything written down in a way that follows the movie, Joe.
Well, I guess there's, you got to pick and choose your battles when you talk about someone. Are we going to talk about that I would have needed to know before I started. Are we going to talk about each character as they're introduced in the film?
No,
I think Kane just feels the need to micromanage just everything.
Sure.
that's not true.
You're not doing it to Kane's satisfaction.
You're
Right.
not talking.
I mean, the fact that someone was murdered in the opening moments of the film isn't the plot.
Isn't it? The death of Julius Lifflander is where everything starts. What movies did you guys watch?
Probably all of it. Probably.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that the movie starts with the doctor getting murdered,
Right.
and then it goes to New York.
Those are the first moments of the film.
Right.
And then everything kind of dominoes from that, you know?
Yeah.
If we don't talk about Lifflander getting murdered and him screaming, because he was super into it. That guy was way into being that character.
Yeah, he was acting as hard as he fucking
He
could.
was so into it.
Joe, I like what you said during the watch party. Just he was acting for the back row.
Yeah. That guy definitely had the energy of a stage actor.
Exactly. Yes. You don't have to yell, buddy. They can hear you.
Yeah. There's a microphone.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So back to my plot / synopsis.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, JD.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's
We'll gloss over the fact that Julius Lifflander, Dr. Julius Lifflander, his death doesn't matter. You know what? He shows back up later in the movie in a fucking
in a memory.
in a what the hell is that called? Why is
Like
my
a
brain not
montage,
working?
like a memory sort of.
Joe, help me out here.
What are you going on about? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Why aren't you listening, Joe? What we're saying is important.
Because I have attention span problems and sometimes I disassociate.
Well, stop it. Flashback. Fuck.
Oh, you just couldn't think of the word
Oh,
flashback.
flashback.
No, I was going to call it a backflash, and I was like, that's not what it is.
Backflash.
That's
That's
backflash
close
is
enough.
not the correct words. It's
Right,
the correct
right.
words, but in the wrong order.
So incorrect.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's in the basket, you ask? I'm glad you asked. It's Dwayne's morbidly deformed, formerly conjoined twin brother named Belial.
Who named the kid
Boy,
Belial?
is he pissed.
Yeah, they don't make that clear. They don't really make clear how Belial came by the name Belial. I can only assume Dwayne decided to call him that.
Yeah.
What contact did Dwayne have? Okay, I'm sorry. It just bothers me.
So real
Like,
quick, I had this issue brewing while watching this film, and I've seen this a long time ago, but I feel like new things have arisen in my mind through this particular viewing.
you wanted to see a basket case porn parody, didn't you?
Not so much. Of all the horror movies you've seen, name a longer grudge, one that's more venomous and vengeful than Belial's grudge. This is a good number of years to plot such revenge. Oh,
Michael Myers,
all right, fair enough.
Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees,
All right.
Jason Voorhees' mom.
So anyway, they the doctors surgically remove Belial from Dwayne's riblets and
riblets,
leave
I
him
like that.
with quite a scar.
Applebee's has always sucked.
Then they proceed to toss poor Belial into the trash. And I mean, they didn't even check for a pulse or anything. I mean, it's only
No, just
natural
chucked
he'd
him
be
in the bin.
pissed, right? I mean,
Right, yeah.
have a little empathy. Put yourself in Belial's, I can't say his shoes because he didn't have legs or feet, but just try to imagine how that would feel.
Yeah.
He was kind of like a wart with a face and arms and
Mhm.
hands
Two
and
arms,
fingers.
right.
Yeah.
Like a boil.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a lot of challenges he was faced with. So, what's surprising about Belial to me is his keen awareness of the situation and his memory. Your mind would have to be pretty developed. And I understand that, when they were separated, Dwayne and Belial were, what would you say? They were depicted as being preteen, maybe?
Yeah, like 12 maybe at the oldest.
That was a very, very tall, developed 12-year-old.
Yeah, but I think the movie was trying to say that was the age that they were. The actor did not look that age at all.
Right.
But I think that's the age that they were.
But how
meant to
often
be.
in horror films are 30-year-olds portraying high school students?
Oh my God, it
Exactly.
just happened. Just
a thing.
recently in the new Netflix Fear Street.
Yeah.
Mm.
One of the high schoolers is like 28.
Right. So that's kind of like a thing that happens in horror movies, and I get that, but I guess I'm just saying, how would Belial even remember who did him dirty, at the early age?
I have a theory.
Okay.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's have
Okay.
it.
Right. So Dwayne is a fully formed human, right? He's got all of the bits, all that stuff, and
Sure.
apparently did not share any of his organs with Belial.
Yeah, somehow their internal biological functions were completely separate, despite them being joined at the ribs, I guess.
Sure,
Well,
the
Yeah,
riblets,
so Belial is mostly brain.
the McRib.
Yeah.
Belial's mostly brain. So that's where the telepathic abilities probably came from. And
Sure.
his memory was so powerful.
That would explain a lot of Dwayne's facial expressions, because he at times really the lights were off in the attic, you know? He just...
So you're saying that there was a finite amount of material that Belial and Dwayne were constructed from, and they each got different ratios of that material.
Are you trying to give us a reason for you to do your Danny DeVito impersonation again? Because I'd like you not to.
I wasn't gonna, no. I am kind of in the back of my mind waiting for a chance to do that voice,
Sure.
but this wasn't
Well,
it.
Kevin Van Hentenryck, all right, I probably said his name wrong, actually played Dwayne.
Dwayne.
And
Yeah.
I was really impressed. We talked about this during the film. I was impressed how similar the teenage Dwayne looked to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did. Maybe it was his younger brother. Who knows? But it could have been.
Could have been. But yeah, I was just trying to construct, based on what you had said, the kind of logic that the movie was operating on.
Okay, I thought you were just referencing the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
I mean, yeah, they're in many ways the same movie.
They are not the same movie, Joe.
There are many similarities.
Oh my God, they are. Oh my God.
Back to the plot for revenge
Oh my God.
of Dwayne and Belial.
Very similar films.
All right, when did Twins come out? We need to know. Joe,
I can find out, yeah.
ask Siri.
I'd say like 90,
We need
91.
to know.
1988.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God.
So it could have very
Dude.
easily just ripped off Basket Case.
So that's the thing. So if you're going to tell a synopsis, all right,
Danny DeVito, if you're listening, we apologize.
a pair of twins
Mhm.
spend their adult life hunting down the doctors that created their situation.
Yeah.
What movie am I talking about?
They're the same movie.
It could be Basket Case. It could be Twins. You know?
But in Basket Case, Arnold Schwarzenegger never sang to Danny DeVito, "Tonight is your night, bro." Remember that? When he was getting ready for his date? No? Okay. Anyway.
I'm sorry, all right? This has put me in a place, okay?
Yeah, you were going to give me shit for saying that. And then you started to wrap your brain around
Yeah.
it.
I think that as like a self-defense, you know,
It was like reading the Necronomicon. You were just trying to keep it out of your
I was trying
your
to
brain.
shield my brain, but now it's in there.
All right. Now that we have acknowledged the parallel lines between Basket Case and Twins, let's go ahead and move on.
Same movie.
Same movie. Oh my God.
It's a bit different.
But yeah, so Kevin Van Hentenryck, Dwayne Bradley, he goes to New York. What's he doing in New York, JD?
He has arrived upon the scene with a basket full of his morbid little twin brother Belial. And
Basket full of
it's the truth. He shows
Oh,
up
he's like-
with a plot for revenge. He's got some, medical papers along for the ride and a manila envelope.
Hey, real quick, where did he get those medical papers from?
That's a great question, because there didn't seem to be an institution that this surgery was
No.
performed in. It was
No, they got the medical papers.
They got him from the first
from
guy.
Dr. Julius Lifflander that you are just going to
Yeah.
callously ignore his death. All right? I'm just saying.
well, get used to me callously ignoring things, because
Oh,
that's just
God,
the way I
no!
am.
Hey, Kane, do you just want to write out bullet points for JD
You might
to
have
go
to,
over?
yeah, you might have
so
to.
that he does
No,
it the way
because
that you
this is
want?
fun. I'm having a good time.
I am having fun.
No, I love that it's happening this
So
way.
anyway, these two are out. They're out on the scene looking to bust up the doctors that separated them.
Hell yeah.
Right.
And, they're ready to kick ass and take names. And then Dwayne's horny little hormones get in the way as he falls for a nurse named Sharon.
So apparently this is just going to keep happening.
God damn it, Kane.
We're not talking about Hotel Broslin at all.
That's true. We didn't get there yet.
Oh, okay. Continued.
Yeah.
JD, I'm sorry. I'll just let you do your thing. Just let me.
I'm not a big fan of Leonard Skinner, but right now, I want you to listen to Freebird in your mind and just know
No.
that I'm a Freebird.
No, I'm not going to listen to Freebird in my mind.
Yeah, don't do that to yourself.
That's fine. You can't wrangle me.
Because despite what you might think, I at least somewhat like myself. And so I'm
You
not
can't-
going to put myself through
You
that.
can't wrangle me. I'm a tsunami.
God damn it, JD.
What the fuck are you babbling about?
I don't know.
All right, so we met Sharon, which is played by Terry Susan Smith.
He was sharing Sharon's outlook on the topic of disease.
Oh my God. I love the Butthole Surfers, Joe, but stop it.
She wakes something up in Dwayne.
Yeah.
He feels, a great bit of romance circulating and
Dude, she was the obvious love interest,
pretty obvious.
Yeah.
but she was super creepy aggressive about touring New York.
She was a little.
Yeah.
I didn't really see the sex appeal of Dwayne.
The sex appeal of Dwayne?
Yeah. He didn't have much of a personality. He had weird, upsetting mood swings.
And he was very dopey.
He was very dopey.
Well, Belial did get most of the brain work in there, so.
Like the movie Twins. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So when they do the reboot of this movie, they should just cast Danny DeVito as Belial, is what you're saying.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger as...
The governor of California.
Fuck it.
Fuck it.
The Governator.
The Governor.
So anyway, Belial has a jealous nature, a dark side, and seeing as how he only, that's really his only side.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, but I didn't want to interrupt.
It all just kind of
Is that
works
because
out
I keep interrupting, Joe? Is that what it is?
It's because we both keep interrupting, and I wanted to give JD an amount of time to actually get a word
Sure.
out.
JD, go ahead, buddy.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, Belial only has one side, and it kind of just works out that he's a bastard filled with evil.
Much like Cain, I would say.
I wouldn't go that far.
Not that Cain is like Belial, but that Cain is a bastard full of evil.
He's got maybe a few shreds of evil in there somewhere. I don't know.
Just a little bit of evil.
I'm still learning.
Evil is a point of view.
That's true.
It's fair.
Yeah. The pain stick, though, your pain stick is evil.
No, it's constructive criticism, JD.
Yeah. Anyway.
Negative reinforcement.
Yeah, so basically, Dwayne does check into this hotel. I'd like to reference that. Go back. I mean, I feel like I'm delivering this like a Tarantino film in a way. I'm like...
Hotel Broslin, or was it Broslin?
Tomato.
Nobody actually says it. It's just a sign.
Potato.
This is Hotel Broslin.
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 Yeah.
And he gets kind of a mean reception from the hotel clerk and like the hotel manager and the random
Some
assholes
patrons
that are just hanging around in the lobby.
They just decided to give him some shit.
Yeah. Apparently, New York's population is so oversaturated at this time that people just feel comfortable conjugating in the lobbies of hotels to hang out, spend time together.
Yeah, as you do.
Now, did you mean to say conjugating or did you want to say congregating?
Yeah, could we cut that out?
You're going to have to do the line again so that I can fix it.
I don't know. I'm kind of happy to talk about conjugate.
Congregating. They were congregating.
Yeah.
Just...
Hold on real quick. JD, do you understand how editing works?
I do, yeah.
If you haven't said the sentence correctly...
I know, you can't just fix it and make me sound great. I know.
The thing is, though, is that you already sound great, even though you fucked up conjugate, which is like...
It's different. It's big time different.
Yeah, that's different. That's grammar.
I know the difference, but I just
I know
fucked
you know
it
the
up.
difference.
Yeah. I think that's the Montucky cold snacks I'm drinking here. Reorganized my words. In a disappointing way. Congregate. They congregate there.
They did?
That's what they do. Yeah, they hang out, spend time together, talk shit together. Yeah, fuck it.
And the hotel manager wouldn't even let him pay for his room. He was just riding his ass.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously Dwayne was in a desperate situation. He had this Quado in his knapsack. But in any other city, I would have been like, fine. I don't need to patronize this skeevy motel.
I'll go find another one.
I will find another because I don't need to be verbally abused.
By everyone, like the fucking weirdo fucking Brian Mickey O'Donovan. I like how that got added in when the cop showed up. Brian Mickey O'Donovan. Like, it's all saying some fucked up, like, oh, all alone in this cruel world. Like, he was like picking on fucking Dwayne.
Yeah. And admittedly, like, Dwayne was kind of a milquetoast anyway. He seems like he just lets himself get bullied.
Right.
But yeah, I would have walked. Like, I don't need to take your shit. I'm going to take my basket full of brother,
and my wad of cash.
And go find another establishment.
How come that wasn't like a 90s band name, Basket Full of Brother?
It sounds like it would have been, yeah.
That's pretty strong.
I mean, it's never too late. You could do like a 90s cover band that's just
Sure.
named Basket Full of Brother, and it's just Creed and Counting Crows covers.
Matchbox 20.
Maybe some of that.
With assorted members from Disturbed and maybe Rage Against the Machine.
No,
What?
we're not mixing those. Rage Against the Machine is tight.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Disturbed is deeply annoying. I apologize to any Disturbed fans in the audience, but I'm not fond of them.
I don't apologize. Fuck you.
What the fuck were we talking about?
I don't know.
We were talking about the Hotel Broslin or Broslin.
Oh, yeah.
And how
Yeah, I would take my money elsewhere.
Yeah. And the hotel manager wouldn't let him just pay for his fucking room.
Yeah.
And what about we talked on it a little bit. There were so many people in that hotel waiting for a loud sound.
For noise to come and mill in the hallway.
They gravitate toward drama is really what it comes down
They
to.
really did.
They had a keen sense of drama, and they just
Yeah.
flocked to it like moths to a flame.
And it seemed like any kind of noise just traveled through the whole building.
Yep.
Yeah, the walls paper thin.
Yeah. So just the entire hotel population, just any time there was a mildly interesting sound, ran into the hallway to congregate.
Back to the congregation. Yeah.
Yeah. Was anyone conjugating?
Only verbs.
All right, so let's dive into this a little bit more. So he's using the hotel, JD, as like his base of operations while he hunts down these doctors, right?
That is true.
Continue. I'm sorry. We're going to keep interrupting you, but continue.
There's these few little sort of subplots happening, while Dwayne's falling for Sharon, they're also hunting down doctors and who some of them leave the medical profession to become veterinarians. No?
That is incorrect.
Okay.
Dr. Judith Cutter, which was played by Diana Brown, was always a veterinarian.
Oh.
Yeah, I think those were just the only medical professionals they could get because the dad wanted Belial, removed.
He just wanted Belial gone, out of the picture. Yeah.
And every other doctor was like, no, this is a person.
Right, yeah.
We can't just dispose of it like it's a tumor, because it has human rights.
Well, that certainly sheds a poor light on the veterinary profession.
Does it?
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true at all. I think he found the shadiest doctors to do the job. One of them just so happened to be a veterinarian. Because if you looked at Dr. Harold Needleman, who was, I still don't know what the fuck he was eating when we see him.
Grease.
Just a ball
Deep
of
fried
grease. Deep fried grease. He was played by Lloyd Pace. That guy's office was a fucking dumpster. That office was disgusting. The veterinary office was actually clean and like a respectable business.
Sure.
We didn't actually get to see the office of Lifflander.
Although the way that the medical apparatus were just shoved unsanitarily into a drawer is very telling of how that practice
no
was
autoclave
run.
steam bags or anything like that.
Yeah, none of that.
Just a drawer full of scalpels.
Yup.
But regardless, that was the thing. Those folks were the lowest of the low, willing to take money to do whatever. They didn't care. So that's why I don't think she left the medical profession to become a veterinarian.
Gotcha.
I think either Lifflander or Needleman had, because Needleman had her name in his Rolodex.
Yeah.
Which we're going to take a quick second to talk about the fucking stamp rack that he had.
Yeah, he had a lot of stamps.
I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me, but we'll just move right along. But I will say that aside from the drawer of scalpels, the vet office was a lot cleaner than Needleman's office.
Yeah, she took a drawer of scalpels to the face. That was
To the face.
harsh.
That was a nice prosthetic.
It was.
$35,000. We need to always go back to that.
All spent on special effects.
$35,000. Yeah.
5,000 on Belial, 30 on that
Yeah.
scalpel drawer to the face.
All right. So, yes. Veterinarian and two doctors, they remove the brother, and now he's hunting them whilst also falling in love.
Falling in love, yeah. And there's a couple of acts there of depravity on Dwayne's behalf. He's just sort of like this very unexperienced person. I feel like just his time connected to Belial sort of set him back in a lot of ways. And I feel like that would explain a lot of his personality traits and a lot of his mannerisms.
And his refusal to buy Quaaludes off the street.
That's true. That man followed him for a good distance and recited everything he had available, which was almost a full pharmacy worth of street drugs.
And he had a wad of cash.
He did. He
too.
could have bought a lot of Quaaludes.
He could have cleaned
Party
him
time.
out, put him out of business that night, but he didn't. Dwayne was a straight arrow in that respect. He didn't use drugs. He just said no. I don't know what else to say about that.
Winners don't use drugs, JD.
Well, I don't know about that either. Anyway, Dwayne's not happy because Belial disgustingly acts out against Sharon out of jealousy and does some horrible, unmentionable, unspeakable things. And
That actress did not get paid enough.
No.
she did not.
No.
That was a terrible scene. And
Based on the budget of this film and how much we know, prosthetics and special effects cost, that actress did not get paid enough.
She did
definitely not. Yeah. Hopefully the $35,000 just went to her.
Well, I mean, like, for the director being so involved in exploitation, I feel like we got away easy with this one.
Yeah, it didn't get gross until the last probably 10, 12 minutes of the movie.
But then that 10 to 12 minutes was so gross that it
Right.
just kind of turned your stomach to the
Yeah.
full experience. At least it did in my case.
Yeah, none of us were happy. In fact, that's every time a movie does that, it's always just, I just feel like groaning,
Yeah.
It kind of
It's like,
ruins
God
your
damn it, we were having so much fucking fun
It
with
soured
this
everything.
stupid
Mhm.
movie, and then you have to go and do that to try to make it seem like that's a plot point. Why?
Although now I'm wondering because I found in my research that the movie was meant to be more horror, and because they had such a limited budget, that's when they kind of wrote the movie around like the comedy and all of the big New Yorker characters. They cut out a lot of more horror-y bits because of that budget limitation.
Right.
If they had been able to do everything that the director had intended, would the whole movie have been like that?
Probably. That's a good point. Somebody else got a hold of it and was like, yeah, we're not keeping that. We're not keeping that.
Mhm.
We're not keeping that. And we're not keeping that. Oh, God. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we'll keep this part because we have to, but fuck. Okay.
And I don't believe we have mentioned the what was it? What relationship did the woman who took care of Dwayne and Belial have to them? Was she their aunt?
That was Dwayne and Belial's aunt.
Okay.
That was played by Ruth Newman.
Okay, and I feel like, her character was a strong part of how they were able to position themselves to seek such revenge.
Mhm.
And it was interesting, she was even reading to them. And what was that quote again? It was Shakespeare.
It was from The Tempest.
It was a really interesting scene.
I offered to read it on the air, but Kane thought that would be too pretentious.
You were rejected.
Yeah.
Because you're a pretentious dick, Joe. I didn't mean to have to say it on the air, so to speak, but it needed to be said.
Joe, just say, I know you are, but what am I?
So real quick, do we know anything while we're talking about this, while we're spoiling the plot of the movie, do we know anything about the cinematographer, the cinematographer?
Yeah, I mean, I know things to the extent that things can be known. The cinematographer was Bruce Torbett. He has 6 film credits, mostly weird indie horror. And then weird, non-cinematography credits. Like, he was an actor in Street Trash. He did props work in Frankenhooker. He did sound editing for Brain Damage.
So he was just friends with the director.
He was just Frank Henlotter's buddy, and he just helped him out for some
Right,
cash under
okay.
the table, I think is what happened there.
If at all. He might have just given him a box of cornflakes.
Sure. And the camera work in this movie had that energy of, I'm not a professional cinematographer. I just have this camera. I'm going to point it at stuff and try to keep the boom mic out of the shot.
I mean, I would argue that the scene where the dad's walking through the basement and it's focused on his feet, and I know why they did that, but the fact that it just kind of focuses on his feet as he's walking through the basement, I thought that was a good shot.
Yeah.
It was,
And
it
his
was
foot
fine,
catching a
but-
carpenter's nail.
Right.
All of that was good. And that was just to lead up to the dad getting sawed in half.
Mhm.
By the largest fucking saw I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, what tool is that? What the hell are they cutting with that?
It was like a lumber house. It
That was like a deforestation thing. Like,
Lumberjacks would bring in to render into, yeah.
it was preposterous.
You would not have a saw like that in a basement.
No,
But you're
sir,
in luck,
you would not.
listeners. You don't have to concern yourselves with seeing a man split in half. You just see blood
What
spray
they could
down on
afford,
feet,
which were his legs falling
and then
to
the
each
lower,
side.
yeah, they just fall over.
Right.
Job well done. You know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Given that was just camera sleight of hand because they didn't have the budget to actually make the cutting that man in twain work on camera.
They made the most of what they could afford to do.
They did what they could with what they had.
They did.
Absolutely.
So Dwayne does get his revenge. He does kill the doctors, right?
He does. And basically after that, then we have an additional sort of subplot happening. You know, Belial's jealousy of Dwayne's romance with
Yeah.
Sharon. So
Mhm.
this horrible scene that I had mentioned a few moments ago, that takes place. And then Belial just severely cockblocks Dwayne by murdering his love interest. And so naturally the brothers do battle.
It's a weird battle.
It is.
Dwayne ends up falling a second time, but this time he falls out a fucking hotel window and takes Belial along for the ride. And Belial basically, you know, is the hangman's noose and, you know, chokes him unconscious before they even hit the ground. They splatter, I would say, pretty well.
Yeah.
And then the fucking hotel occupants heard this noise happen and
Yeah.
flood the street.
And once again, gather
As they
around
did,
to,
yeah.
you know, observe a bloodbath, a massacre. And the two plummet to their supposed demise. Spoiler alert, there is a basket case 2 and a basket case 3, the progeny,
All of which we will be covering
eventually.
on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I mean, at some point, yes.
Basket case 2 was a lot of fun. I remember there being some gooey-ass puppets.
I like gooey puppets.
Heavy prosthetic effects that I am looking forward to discussing. And not so much, they sort of got most of the exploitation / sexploitation out in this film. A lot of that.
There is, and two, which I won't tell the whole thing, but there may or may not be a Belial sex scene.
But it's a bit different. It's more of a consensual,
It's enthusiastic consent.
yes,
Okay.
enthusiastic consent.
Yeah, as long as everybody's
Yeah,
into it.
right.
That sounds like my kind of weird, to be honest.
I'm here for that.
You're going to like it. But yeah, so let's wrap up talking about the plot of Basket Case. So
That was the plot of Basket Case. They died on the street surrounded by the hotel patrons.
of the Hotel California.
some things that we should discuss now. Let's go ahead. JD, what do we know about the special effects in this movie? Who did them?
Yeah, beautifully done. For the time, I would say 1982. This is a strong showing of stop motion animation. So much of the scenes where Belial is like whooping ass on everyone, it's stop motion animation. And then
The stop motion was cool.
It
it was
It
cool.
was.
Yeah, and it was blatantly stop motion. It was,
Yeah.
not seamless. It was,
But that almost made it creepier.
it did.
The kind of judderiness
Yes,
of it.
very juddery. That's an excellent word to describe what we witnessed. But anyway, yeah, he's whooping ass and doing all of his revenge. And, well, so before I get over my skis real quick, I'm going to mention that puppet was crafted by, I assume, Kevin Haney and John Caglione Jr. And the other scenes where you just see one of the arms, or maybe at a few times both of the arms of Belial, those were basically gloves, puppet-like gloves constructed and worn by the director, Frank Henenlotter.
Right. And I was kind of condescending toward the cinematography, but now that you've pointed out the amount of sleight of hand that they had to do to kind of cover for, oh yeah, these are hands in gloves, this is the puppet, this is a kill that we don't have the budget to recreate properly. The amount of trickery that they had to do to get around their budget limitations.
Sure. Yeah, they pulled it off. It was
That'll teach you to be a pretentious dick.
right. Wow, that's harsh.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Kane, you bastard.
All right. Well, I feel like we covered the majority of the plot there. we've talked somewhat about the special effects.
There's still a bit more about John Caglione Jr. He was actually a protege of the legendary
JD.
Dick Smith.
Dick Smith, Big Dick
Oh,
Smith.
no
Yeah,
shit.
Big Dick Smith, baby.
That's awesome.
That
Yep.
makes sense because the wounds and the blood and all that looked really fucking good.
Yeah.
And the casting used for Belial's face was in the likeness of Kevin van Hentenryck.
That makes sense.
He was also responsible for Belial's demonic voice.
What? Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is.
So they got their miles out of the Van Hentenryck. Very good, Joe. Very good. Kane, are you stroking him now and feeding him treats?
Like a whole pack of uncooked hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a sack of hamburgers.
2 sacks of hamburgers.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 sacks of hamburgers.
Yeah, while fucking Dwayne sits on the bed daintily nursing a little nibble here and there of his one burger.
I loved when he dumped the pack of frankfurters
Yeah,
into
just wrapper
Belial's
and all.
basket, into his wicker basket, and then the basket's like shimmering on the little nightstand as he devours his weenies. He took those weenies down. Anyway, I was just going to mention real quick that the special effects and makeup artist Kevin Haney had a pretty long, awesome career. The early portion of his career in particular literally oozes and festers with a grotesque rash of horror films, including Basket Case, Chud,
Oh, nice.
and a film called Scream for Help.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
We're going to watch Chud.
Yeah, we're going
Yeah,
to.
it's coming. It's on the
Yeah.
way. He was also involved with Amityville 3D, Poltergeist 3, and several episodes of a TV show that I loved and we had mentioned in previous episodes, the TV show Monsters. And I just feel like, a lot of what we witnessed might have been, it wasn't clear. I wasn't able to find specific information as to who was responsible for what, but I feel like I mentioned Kevin Haney's track record there with some of those titles. You can almost kind of tell that maybe he was, involved heavily in creating the aesthetic of Belial and some of the other gory shit that we looked at.
Maybe he did this movie for exposure.
It's very possible.
Look, I can't pay you, but you'll get exposure.
Yeah, we'll expose you, and then people will know.
All right, was that it on special effects? Do we have any more? Or is that
No, that was in the package
well
with the
is
bow
dry.
on it. Yep, the well is dry. Everything's tapped.
okay? All right, well then, why don't we go ahead and talk about our personal experience with the movie? Joe, go ahead and give us your take here. Your
Sure
hot
thing.
Take.
I hadn't seen this movie, but I've seen other better horror movie media talk about this movie.
Yeah.
And you've seen the movie Twins.
And I've seen Twins, which is functionally the same movie.
Which is Basket Case's first remake.
But yeah, so I specifically because, and again, we have a theme this season that we didn't bother to announce at the beginning of the first episode of the season.
Gooey puppets.
Because we never do that.
I mean, I try to get us to do it, but it just doesn't happen that way. But yeah, when we talked about this season being kind of puppet themed, I thought that this would be a good movie to do that
It's
with.
a good one to start.
Yeah. And I had fun with it.
Yeah.
At first, I was kind of critical of like the amount of just ancillary, like, let's get all these wacky actors that are probably the director's friends and have them talk at each other for 5 minutes nonstop.
About nothing.
And I still kind of am,
Right.
because so much of it was just filler
Right.
because they couldn't make the horror movie that they wanted to make. But overall, I had a fun time. The Belial prop was super cool.
Yes. Did it fill your need for a puppet?
It was a good puppet. It wasn't moist.
It was damp.
It was damp.
He was very gelatinous, especially in the face and in those dead eyes. That it almost looked like he had like, ew, do you ever see like a roadkill on the ground and if its eyes open? That's like what Belial's eyes reminded me of. It's
Sure,
just terrifying.
Until the end when they decided to put little LED lights inside of them for no
That's
reason.
true. I was starting to think, I'm like, oh man, is this an evolution of sorts? Was he like this cancer-like mass that like was part of
Right.
this evolutionary process where we end up in the future, in the distant future, with LED lights for eyes? I considered that.
Sure, yeah.
I didn't. Okay.
But yeah, overall, I had fun. It was a good, cult classic horror movie, aside from the gross exploitation-y bits
Right.
Sure.
that didn't help the movie.
It was unfortunate.
Kind of brought the vibe down.
It sure did.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say about that.
All right, JD, why don't you tell us about your personal experience with the movie?
Surely. Basket Case is a film that I've held near and dear to my heart as a youthful person. I felt as though if I were to give you a list of my top 10 horror films, Basket Case would be somewhere on that list around maybe 7 or 8. Seeing it again, though, I feel... Not seeing it again as an adult, I have a copy of this in my collection. I watched it probably the last time and somewhere in my early 20s and kind of, I don't know, a lot of it didn't settle as well with me as it did when I was young. I think because, a lot of it just went over my head.
Right.
But when you're seeing this film, as a grown person, there's a lot more disturbing things involved. Like we had mentioned, a lot of the sexploitive aspects to the film were, kind of awful. And then, the part of me that just can zoom in on the special effects, that's kind of where this film and that's where our relationship sort of sits, is I appreciate the prosthetics and the creation of Belial as a creature known in the horror community. I don't think you can really have a horror conversation without mentioning Belial as this creature, this vengeful, evil being, this entity that's, capable of horrible things. And the control that he has over his brother, they communicate telepathically. I'm not certain if Dwayne can speak to Belial in his mind, but most certainly Belial can communicate to Dwayne.
Yeah, I think they suggest, if I remember correctly, that Dwayne at one point had the ability to communicate with Belial and it went away over time.
It was diminished. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
But I feel as though part of that telepathy was sort of backed how Belial was able to control Dwayne. And I believe, Dwayne had hostilities for the way they were separated and, was sort of in on the revenge. But I think at a point, Dwayne's own, mental illnesses sort of helped him succumb to some of being an accomplice to that evil that Belial was driving. And I feel like he just, I don't even know, was mostly tormented by Belial, even though he at times, showed a great deal of empathy toward him. And you could tell there was a loving nature, a protectiveness. But I think that Dwayne was aware of Belial's evil and would often try to protect the world around him from Belial's evil. Some people. But, there was a good handful of people in the film that he did not want Belial to harm. And so I feel like Dwayne's nature was more good than evil, and Belial was just pretty much pure evil. So there was this yin and yang thing happening with those characters, and aspects of their personality were just, pretty dark. That was a dark character.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of internal conflict going on there. That's pretty much my impression of the film. Just watching it again now, it's quite a different experience, and it still remains on my list of, cult classic horror films, but I definitely sort of squint at it sideways a little bit more than I used to.
Sure.
So yeah, Kane, the world is waiting to hear your impression of this film.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, this was a situation similar to Motel Hell, where I had fond memories. This was one of those films that my dad kind of let me and my brother get.
Sure.
Probably to his chagrin. But yeah, so my dad let us get this movie, we watched it. I mostly just remember the puppet being awesome, and I remember the kills being pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
My brain did not remember the exploitation parts of the movie. Some things that really stuck, like the scene where Belial's getting removed, the sounds that they had, because
yeah,
it looked like the set was quiet and that they dubbed the voices and the sounds and everything afterwards. And it was like ripping through paper and all that. And then there was just this delicious squelch as they were removing Belial.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
It was like somebody opening presents while eating a bowl of oatmeal or something. It was just...
Then the fact that this... I considered Dwayne to be kind of like a bumpkin that came to the big city to get his vengeance with his brother.
Sure.
Because he goes into a seedy New York hotel and just flips through, leafs through hundreds and fifties to get to the $20 bill that was in the middle of those bills.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Always keep the small bills on the outside.
Showing the entire hotel lobby that he was rolling stacked.
Yeah.
Right.
Dwayne was a little wet behind the ears. He was definitely...
Overall, it was a great time. I had a lot of fun. I laughed a lot. There was some good kills. There were some very silly kills. Overall, it was fun until the last 15 minutes of the movie. And then you get to that point and you're like, the story was so much fun. And then you ruined it by having to put this exploitive part into it. And so with that being gone, it's still a good movie.
Sure. The star of the film was the hotel resident that exclusively wore a bathrobe, boxer shorts, socks pulled up real high. Yeah. And what I remember is being gym shoes.
Yep. So it was less of a hotel, and it was more like a weekly rent boarding house type situation.
Yeah,
or a permanent vacation.
Because those folks did not ever leave. It was like a roach motel. They checked in, they never check out.
Or like the Hotel California.
All right, well, that was it. I loved that movie up until the end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited at the prospect of seeing part 2 because Belial has a sex scene, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, a consensual one.
Aside from that, if you watch Basket Case, let us know what you think.
Which, if you're comfortable with some of the grosser moments and you're a fan of horror films, then it's worth checking out.
Sure.
Plus you can absolutely, there's a scene at the scene that you'll be looking for is Sharon is asleep. Just stop it there.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch the rest of it. But yeah, so if you watch this movie or have watched this movie and have memories of it that you would like to share with us, feel free to go to wegiveyoubrainworms.com, and you can also just find us at most places that podcasts live. Feel free to give us a message, send us a comment, any of that stuff. Also, we warn you against forgetting to follow, and subscribe on YouTube.
That would be bad.
And click the bell.
And yes, click the bell. Always click the bell. Speaking of clicking things, next week we're going to be covering Ghoulies, and that's going to be a fun episode. So make sure to watch Ghoulies before you listen to next week's episode, because then you'll know exactly what we're talking about and where we're talking about it.
Bye, everybody.
Au revoir. Wow, 2 sacks of hamburgers.